God, can I ask you something? What is happening to the world? Because honestly, sometimes it feels like everything is falling apart, while everyone else smiles like everything's fine. Something's wrong. I feel it. A quiet uneasiness growing inside me. Something's off, and it's not just out there. It's in here, too. I read something today, something that struck a chord. In 2 Timothy, you say that in the last days difficult times would come, but I confess, I never imagined they would seem so normal. Because these difficult times didn't come with trumpets or earthquakes. They came slowly. They came disguised as progress, freedom, and success. You said people would become lovers of themselves. And I look around, Lord, and I see exactly that. A world obsessed with reflections, with likes, with applause. And then I ask myself, have I too fallen into this game without realizing it? Have I become the center of my own cult? We look in the mirror more than we look at the sky. We feed our image more than our soul. We seek the world's approval and call it authenticity. But deep down, we are hungry, empty, lost. Is this what you see when you look at the earth? Hearts full of themselves but empty of you? There are times when it seems like we're drowning in ourselves and we don't even realize it. I myself, Lord, how many times have I chased my own will, baptized my desires with beautiful words, and still dared to say it was your direction? You also said that in the last days people would be lovers of money, and how this has infiltrated even our prayers. We ask for blessings, but often we desire status. We pray for provision, but our hearts desire power. We kneel, but with ambitions hidden in the pockets of our souls. And the scariest thing is that all of this seems normal. That's what scares me, Father. It's not evil screaming, and it's evil whispering and being applauded. Lies have become narratives. Arrogance has become authenticity. Rebellion has become courage, and faith has become a prop, a style, an empty shell. How did we get here? And the worst part is that all of this isn't just in others. It's in me too. I found myself seeking comfort more than the cross, more recognition than renunciation, more performance than presence. And then you speak of something even darker, a generation with a form of godliness, but who deny your power. How can you, Lord? How can anyone speak of your name, sing your praises, and yet walk away from your presence? Could it be me? Could it be that behind my religious routine there is a heart that no longer burns? This is where your voice is loudest within me, because this appearance of holiness is a dangerous hiding place. It is possible to become someone who prays, but doesn't listen, who sings but doesn't break, who serves but doesn't surrender. And now I can only ask you what is still real in me. I don't want to hide behind pretty words while my heart is turned off. I don't want to be like those who walk beside you but don't recognize you. Those who talk about the kingdom but live as if they were kings of their own. You know everything. You see everything, even what I myself don't see. So before the darkness outside consumes me, shine a light on what's inside. Because I know this is just the beginning. I know what comes next will hurt. But I also know that your truth heals even when it hurts. That your love reveals even when it confronts, and that your voice, when it whispers in the chaos, is more powerful than any scream. So I ask you, Lord, don't make me comfortable in a sick world. Don't leave me blind in the middle of the storm. If this is indeed the prophesied time, then awaken my soul before it falls asleep in deception. God, tell me one thing. How is it possible to seem so close to you, and yet be so far away? Because sometimes I act like everything's fine. I pray. I say your name. I listen to songs about you. I even post verses. But deep down, something inside me knows there's a distance that no appearance can hide. I ask myself, Lord, have I learned to act out faith? Has my devotion become a well-rehearsed role? Because I know how to say what they expect to hear. I know how to carry myself, how to sound spiritual. But do you still see something true in me? Or just the echo of a heart that no longer beats for you? The truth is hard, but I need to say it. There are times when I no longer seek you out of love. I seek you out of fear. Fear of falling, fear of failing, fear of being forgotten, but not because I'm in love with your presence. And that scares me, because I remember when seeking you was everything. I didn't need reasons. I didn't need blessings. I just wanted to hear you, feel you, follow you. And today sometimes I just repeat soulless gestures, words without hunger, praises without tears. Am I becoming what I feared most? A body in motion, but with a sleeping spirit. A candle still lit, but without heat. You said that many would have a form of godliness, but would deny the power. And I need to ask you, God, how many times have I denied this power while claiming to serve you? Because if your presence doesn't transform me, what am I doing? If I can come and go from church, hear your word, sing the hymns, and still continue to have the same fears, the same hurts, the same vices of soul, then something is wrong, something deep, something that human eyes cannot see, but that your gaze has long since perceived. And perhaps the scariest thing is this: I was able to function spiritually even when disconnected from you. I can look strong when I'm broken. I can pray with my eyes closed and my heart open to anything else. I can talk about you and not talk to you. Is this why the sky is silent? Have I become so accustomed to the liturgy that I have forgotten how to hear your voice? Show me, Lord. Show me where I lost you in the midst of my routine. Show me when I stopped going to the secret out of love and started doing it out of obligation. Show me when I stopped desiring you and started using you only as a resource to solve problems. I feel like my faith has gone into automatic mode. I pray, but without expecting an answer. I read, but without listening. I sing, but without breaking. I mention you, but I don't experience you. Is there still fire on this altar, Lord? Or have I allowed the smoke of religiosity to cover the absence of your glory? Because it's possible to seem full of you and be full only of myself, full of my desires, my plans, my image, my fears, my performances, everything tidy on the outside but silent on the inside. And the strangest thing is that, even so, I keep going. I keep going because the system taught me to keep going, because the spiritual environment taught me to keep the rhythm, smiling in the service, saying amen without thinking, raising my hands without meaning to. But you know me, Lord. You know the exact moment my surrender ceased to be complete, the moment I began to divide my heart between the altar and distractions, between faith and appearances, between surrender and the fear of losing control. I need to know, God, what is more dangerous, to lose faith altogether or to become accustomed to it being empty. Perhaps this is the most subtle deception of the last days, not an open rejection of you, but an imperceptible substitution, a devotion without power, a domesticated faith, a lukewarm love. And that is why I turn to you today, trembling within, because I realize that I can walk beside you, but not with you. May I be inside your house, but outside your presence. May I have my name engraved on religious walls, but not in your eyes. I don't want to be that someone anymore, God. Dismantle the character. Tear away the veil of appearance. Shatter this cloak that separates me from the truth. I would rather be broken into silence than applauded in hypocrisy. Awaken in me the man who cries for you, the son who runs to your arms and not to the stage, the servant who prefers secrecy to exposure. Awaken in me the heart that longs for your voice and not for the applause of men. God, answer me one thing sincerely. Why does your silence speak so loudly? Because sometimes I kneel down and hear nothing. I pray, I cry out, I pour myself out, but all I get is the echo of my own despair coming back to me. And the strangest thing is that even so, something in me still seeks you. Is this faith or is it stubbornness? Do I continue looking for you because I still believe, or because I no longer know how to live without this search, even when it hurts? There are nights when the sky looks like a stone ceiling, and I ask myself, has the Lord forgotten me or hidden me? Is this silence an absence or a strategy? Because if it is absence, it breaks me. But if it's strategy, teach me. Just don't leave me here in the middle trying to decipher your distance as if it were my fault. There are days when I wonder if I am unworthy of your answer. Other days, I think I've heard it so much that I've become numb. And in some of my darkest moments, I wonder if you still speak to me or if I've stopped listening. And the Lord knows me. You know how much I try to look strong, but deep down, sometimes I just want to hear your voice saying, calm down, I'm still here. Just that, a word, a phrase, a sign. Because even a sigh of yours would be a balm in the midst of this confusion here inside. Is this where the Lord teaches what trust is? Could this apparent absence be the womb where true faith is gestated? Because if it is, then I thank you even for the silence, even if it hurts. But I must confess, I'm afraid of emptiness. Fear that my faith will become a memory instead of a living experience. Fear that, as I continue searching for you, something in me will fade away until only the shape of hope remains. but without the flame. I know the Lord has spoken to me before. I remember the times. I remember your voice inside me, cutting through everything like a sword. I remember the peace that invaded my chest without warning. I remember the confirmations, the signs, the miracles. And that's what keeps me going, knowing that there was once a voice and that there was once a presence, that there was once a fire. But now I ask you, what do you do with those who are silent inside? With those who still believe but without the strength to demonstrate it? With those who continue to pray but with dry tears? With those who walk in darkness but hold fast to the remembrance of your light? Does the Lord still call these children? Or are we in a spiritual limbo between yesterday full of glory and today full of doubts? I try to worship you, even without feeling. I try to look for you, even without understanding. I try to keep going, even without direction. But I need to know, does this count too? Is the faith that endures in silence worth as much as the faith that explodes in miracles? Does your invisible applause come when I choose to stay, even when everything tells me to give up? And if so, then I'll stay, even without answers, even without signs, even without an audible voice. Because maybe, just maybe, your greatest proof of love is not to free me from silence, but to remain with me within it. Perhaps the Lord is more present now, when I don't feel you, than when I felt you all the time. Maybe silence isn't a punishment, it's an invitation. Invitation to trust what I know, not what I feel. Invitation to love your presence, and not just your words. An invitation to discover that your love does not depend on my sensitivity, but on your constancy. So I ask you for something simple yet profound. Don't take away my faith, even when I lack feeling. Don't take away my hunger, even when the flavor is missing. Don't take away my desire to keep looking for you, even when I find nothing. Because if I keep knocking, one day the Lord will open. If I keep asking, one day the Lord will answer. If I keep searching, one day I will find you again. And if in the end it wasn't the Lord who hid himself, but was it me? What if behind your silence what echoes is my own escape? My attempt to appear whole before you, when inside I am undone? Could it be that your absence is just a reflection of the mask I insisted on keeping on even in prayer? Because now I see. How many times have I hidden behind beautiful words? How many times have I knelt down not to talk, but to impress? How many times have I pretended to surrender just to maintain control? And the Lord who sees everything, does not respond to facades. He doesn't visit stages, only altars. He is not moved by performance, but by truth. Maybe that's why the silence. Maybe that's why your deep gaze doesn't look away, even when mine tries to escape. Maybe the Lord is waiting for me not in the place of perfection, but at the very point of my truth, where I am just a tired child, afraid of being rejected. And I confess, I ran away. I ran away from myself, from what I carry, from who I am. I ran away from what I felt, what I thought, what I desired. I ran away from the guilt I disguised with service. I ran away from the pain that I disguised with faith. But I can no longer hide from you, because by hiding from you, I lose myself. God, why is it so hard to surrender completely? Why are we so afraid of being seen whole with the broken parts, the wrong desires, the impure thoughts, the unhealed traumas? Why is it easier to praise you with strength than to confess weakness? Do we still, deep down, think we impressed you strongly? But now I understand. The Lord always wanted what was real. He always preferred sincere tears to memorized prayers. He always waited for the torn heart, not the coherent speech. And Lord knows I'm not consistent. I am not constant. I'm not as holy as I'd like to be, but I'm still yours. Even messy, even imperfect, even in pieces. Is that enough? If I give you what is left, will you still call it a living sacrifice? Could it be that if I stop running and let myself be seen in full, the Lord will not only see me, but touch me? Because there is something in me that screams for redemption. Not only of sin, but of the mask. I want to go back to being that son who lies on his father's lap and doesn't need to prove anything. I want to let go of the burdens I created myself, my image, my reputation, my strength, and return to being just heart, just dependence, just essence. But tell me, God, if I take everything out, if I open everything, and will the Lord stay? If I confess the depths I have hidden even from myself, will the Lord still call me by name? Because maybe my biggest fear isn't hell, but to be known and not to be loved, being exposed and not being welcomed. Be sincere and be left alone. But something in me tells me that the Lord is different. May your love not be frightened by my darkness. May your light not enter to condemn me, but to heal me. That your gaze does not hurt, it reveals. And when I finally stop running away, the Lord runs to me, not to charge me, but to hug me. So today I'm back, not with certainties, but with truth, not with answers, but with wounds, not with force, but with will. And if the Lord is still there, if he still hears me, even in silence, finds me in this place where I ended up losing myself, and if what hurts me the most, was it just what I learned to call part of me, God? Or how long did I call identity what was just a wound? How many times have I defended as a personality something that was just a protection mechanism? I hardened because I was hurt. I became cold because being sensitive hurt too much. I learned not to expect anything because back then, when I waited, I was left. And when I loved, I was betrayed. And when I trusted, I was forgotten. So I began to wear silence as armor, distancing as wisdom, indifference as a strategy. But inside, my heart was screaming for touch, for presence, for healing. Does the Lord see this? Does the Lord see the boy who was trapped behind the adult who learned to survive? Because I no longer know how to distinguish where the trauma ends and where who I am begins. I don't know if this tiredness is just from the walk or if it's the echo of 1,000 unresolved internal battles. I don't know if this fear is discernment or just the reflection of so many accumulated disappointments. And the truth, God, is that I learned to function broken, smiling sadly, leading bleeding, helping while begging for help, giving advice while I didn't know how to deal with myself. And on the outside, everything looked right. But the Lord is never deceived by appearances. The Lord sees what the eyes do not see. And maybe that's why everything is coming to light now. Because the Lord doesn't want to fix me on the outside. He wants to heal me on the inside. But will there be time? Is there still hope for those who have become accustomed to pain to the point of calling it home? Because sometimes I'm afraid to live without her. Fear of discovering that, without my defenses, without my walls, without my masks, I don't know who I am. And this is where everything shakes. Because if I let you heal, maybe I need to let go of what has protected me for so long. Maybe I have to let go of control, character, ready-made speeches. And maybe, God, maybe that hurts more than staying hurt. But what if it is this pain that finally sets you free? What if it is at the point of my greatest fragility that the Lord decides to rebuild me? What if the wound is not the end, but the door? Because now I feel something different, as if the Lord were calling me to a place where strength is no longer required, only surrender. A place where being real is more important than being strong, where being a son is more urgent than being perfect. So, if the Lord is really here, listening to me, feeling me, seeing me, plays what no one has ever played, whispers where the world only screamed, embrace where others only hurt. And if the Lord decides to enter into these pains that even I denied, please don't leave. Don't leave me in the middle of the process. Do not abandon me when I am stripped of my defenses and naked before my truth. Because deep down I know, I never wanted to be strong. I just wanted to be cured. You know the end isn't just the end, right? God spoke calmly, as if he already knows the despair that lives in the human heart. It's also the beginning of what you fear being. The man felt the weight of these words even before he answered. It was true. Surrendering to healing didn't just mean erasing old pain. It meant making room for a new me, one I hadn't yet known, and one that would require courage far greater than any battle I'd ever faced. What if I don't like who I'm becoming? Her voice was shaky, almost a whisper. What if, after hiding for so long, I discover I no longer recognize myself? Who will love me then? God remained silent for a moment, as if allowing doubt to creep in. What if you realize that true love begins within you? That the acceptance you seek will come not from other voices, but from the very look you cast upon yourself? Are you ready for that? The man swallowed hard. It was a question that stripped him bare more than any confession. Was he willing to abandon the mirror distorted by fear and rejection to face a raw but genuine reflection? What if I fail? He continued, almost desperate. What if the rebuilding you promise is a sandcastle that collapses at the first wind? What if hope is just another illusion? Failure is part of life, God replied, firm yet serene. The difference lies in continuing, even when everything seems to be falling apart, in the courage to rebuild after each fall, in the learning that each mistake offers. What is failure if not an invitation to begin again? The man felt a spark of fire ignite within his chest. It wasn't just a challenge. It was a silent revolution, a renunciation that required more than strength. It demanded surrender. But what about loneliness? He asked, his voice thick with vulnerability. Isn't the journey to healing a lonely one? How many times have I felt abandoned even in the midst of a crowd? God responded tenderly, almost like a father understanding his child's scars. I was never far away. The loneliness you feel is the space you left for me to enter, but it is also a reflection of your resistance to opening up to me and to others. True healing is encounter, with yourself, with others, with myself. The silence that followed was thicker than any words. The man realized that complete surrender was the turning point, the gateway where everything he feared and desired converged. Then, Lord, he concluded, his voice firm yet trembling, I accept this reconstruction, this death and rebirth, even without knowing what will come next, even with fear gripping my chest, because only then, perhaps, can I finally be whole. God smiled, invisible, but felt. That's the courage that moves the universe. The courage to look within, to shed the old, and to open oneself to the new. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And then, in the silence that followed, the man knew he was no longer alone. That dialogue, that surrender, was the beginning of true freedom. But the journey doesn't end here, because every reconstruction brings a new challenge, learning to be light, to be imperfect, to be human. So, are you ready for this new encounter? Ready to be who you were born to be? Not because of what you carried, but because of who you choose to be. Ask ChatGPT.